The Dead Baby Scam, False Wards and Child Labor. By Anna von Reitz. Information provided to H.E. Cardinal Mamberti and the Vatican Chancery Court in regard to our claims, March 5, 2005, January 19, 2023, in Seek. The dead baby scam began as a result of a misunderstanding. People at the time of St. Thomas Aquinas didn't realize what the afterbirth and placenta materials were that accompanied each baby into the world, but they observed that these things appeared to have a heartbeat of their own and to, in some sense, be alive. They also observed that this monstrous brother predictably died soon after the baby was delivered. So, they gave the afterbirth materials a name, your given name, and a Christian burial as an unknown Pauper. You would have to wait for your official christening and baptism to have a Christian name and be enrolled as a member of the church. This resulted in a situation where your dead brother's estate was in probate and intestate under your given name at the same time that you were nameless and wandering around without a Christian name as the presumed inheritor of whatever your dead brother's earthly estate might yield. Thus, wittingly or unwittingly, the Church put itself in the position of administering the estates of all these presumed to be dead babies, and all these intestate dead baby estates were operated under the given names of living people, and they were all operated by magistrates appointed by the Church as trustees. It's another substitution scheme, but instead of a phony public interest in an abandoned estate being asserted by a government entity or foreign nation under the rationale of the 1666 Cestui Vi Act in England, this one creates an equally phony private interest in what appears to be your private estate for the Church, which stands in as the receiver of the dead body and name of the deceased, and then also acts as the presumed trustee of the estate they created for your dead brother. As trustee, the Church appoints a court magistrate as the administrator responsible for the probate of his estate. Remember that this estate, which you are totally unaware of, is functioning under your given name at the same time that you are wandering around gaining skills and education and getting married and buying a house, so that absolutely everything you are and that you acquire is accruing not to you, but to your dead brother's estate. That so-called infant decedent estate is under the control of church-appointed magistrates and being managed for the benefit of the Church's commonwealth. And there it is again, the connection to the commonwealth, that is, territorial government and the municipal corporations. This fraud is much older, by about 500 years, but it's basically the same pattern of fraud we already examined with public interest in private property being asserted by government entities. The only substantial differences are that the Church's gambit results in a private interest in the estate, and the estate is administered under a different form of law. In both cases, the living man is impersonated and a thing bearing his given name is substituted for him. In both cases, the living man loses his identity and standing and control of his property rights by means of personage crimes, undisclosed fraud, and false claims in commerce. It's nothing but self-interested fraud that benefits the perpetrators by creating undisclosed and unauthorized trusts, both public and private, and leaving the perpetrators or their appointed executors de son tort in control of the assets belonging to living people. The purported public interest in our assets asserted by the British Crown-operated municipal subcontractor has a private side, too, in that the British monarch gets a cut of the action via the establishment of a subset trust. The purportedly lost British territorial seaman who just happens to be operating under the given name of an American, is a warrant officer in the British Merchant Marine Service working as a taxpayer, for the Queen, or King, collecting excise taxes, and this fictitious warrant officer is deemed to be a ward of the British monarch. As a ward, he has no legal standing to bring suit, no control of his own assets, and is subject to admiralty law. All of these schemes use substitution, impersonation, unlawful conversion, and constructive identity theft as a means to rob their American victims silly. The trust schemes set up the framework, and then, the phony unauthorized military district courts do the dirty work for the British Crown municipal subcontractors, and the municipal subcontractors run their own probate courts and corporate tribunals, which are all unauthorized, too, to do the same thing, illegally and unlawfully tax Americans and confiscate American assets under color of law. They have done the same thing in Britain, the United States, all the former Commonwealth countries, 17 still occupied countries in Western Europe, Japan, and everywhere else they can get their municipal corporation franchise system going. Their excuse? That this is the only way they can fund the government and the good works of the Church. They conveniently forget the non-budgeted side of their crooked double accrual accounting system designed by Al Capone's bookkeeper, Easy Eddie O'Hara, the proverbial second set of books where all the undisclosed, non-budgeted profits and our encumbered trust assets, and all the slush fund accounts are cashiered away and never talked about. They also forget to mention the mammoth influx of gold they received from the private Avila family trust that was meant to build infrastructure, provide direct relief, and pay all the costs of government, but was then sidetracked and converted into assets backing low-interest loans, enabling the world to rebuild all the damage these same municipal corporations caused in World War II. Conveniently, when this loan fund agreement came due in 2005, the perpetrators defaulted and put forward false claims on abandonment on the deposited gold assets, in order to avoid payment back to the Avila family trust. These municipal corporation subcontractors, themselves acting under conditions of deceit and misrepresenting themselves as our representatives concerning matters we never delegated to them, have proved corrupt and dishonorable, and there can be no doubt that they have operated unlawfully and illegally, both, for many years. We have noted throughout the skillful use of enclaves and the choice of where these municipal corporation subcontractors are incorporated, as a means to take advantage of foreign systems of law to evade their constitutional obligations and access forms of law that are not authorized in this country. The British Crown municipal corporation subcontractors arbitrarily and non-contractually set up military districts in the United States in order to front their phony military district court system, and they have not only done this here, but in many other countries, too. The municipal corporation subcontractors have operated unauthorized and undisclosed probate courts within the military districts provided by their colluding British cohorts, resulting in municipal districts and more phony courts on our shores, practicing so-called administrative law, and misapplying it to the general public and utilizing probate courts that have never been authorized here to confiscate American property under color of law. These white-collar criminals set up shop in Puerto Rico, a convenient and safe United States, meaning Federal Republic, possession, because it is still a Commonwealth nation and because it gave them access to the Spanish law of the Inquisition, which they have used to prosecute tax cases. Similarly, while child labor is largely outlawed in most of the world and certainly in the United States, they have set up their latest version of the United States of America, Incorporated, in India, in order to continue running a particularly obnoxious child labor contracting service and money laundering scam. India allows child labor and child labor contracting, so they pick and choose where they set up shop and take advantage of different national laws that allow them to do things that are utterly outlawed in this country. The problem being that they do these things while operating their secret franchises under our given names. This results in a situation where we have an American named John Andrew Wilkes, and a British territorial U.S. citizen also named John Andrew Wilkes, and a municipal infant decedent estate doing business under the name of John Andrew Wilkes, and a British subject operating as a merchant seaman called John Andrew Wilkes, and a British territorial Sestui Kvi trust operated as John Andrew Wilkes, and so on. Most of these phony persons set up as public and private trusts, public transmitting utilities, etc., have been further exploited and encumbered in derivative schemes, where their purported assets have been bundled together and unassigned fungible shares of undesignated interest have been sold to investors. Some of those guilty parties responsible for this are so deluded by the illusions of power and pelf that they congratulate themselves for building a world-spanning crime syndicate, using nothing more than deceit and fraud exercised under color of law against their employers, and some of them think that they can go on and keep skating by promoting just one more scam: digital currency. We wish for all these schemes and abuses to end, and for the municipal corporations promoting these schemes and abuses against living people to be shut down permanently. This includes but is not limited to the municipal corporation subcontractors that have been housed in the District of Columbia and their successors, both those operated by the British territorial government and those operated by the city government, and all their fraudulently constructed state-of-state franchises and agencies, too. We wish for all their assets worldwide to be forfeit and made available for the use of the national government and the people they have harmed. Issued by Anna Maria Riesinger, Fiduciary. The United States of America in care of Box 520994 Big Lake, Alaska 99652. April 16, 2023. Thank you for liking and subscribing. For more information about the great fraud that has been perpetrated against the American states and people, and what you can do about it, please visit www.tasa.americanstatenationals.org. Thank you.